Get connected with Take Two Radio on Facebook or Twitter at Take Two Radio. For email updates on future shows, follow at Blog Talk Radio. For previous episodes, upcoming guests, and more, visit Take2Radio.com.
Hi, this is Dave Roundtree, co-author of the soon-to-be-released Demon Street USA, author of Paranormal Technology, an all-around science geek in the paranormal. And when I'm not doing anything, I sit around and chuckle to the antics of the Malliard Report.
The opinions expressed on the Malliard Report are those of the host and participants and are not intended to and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of any simulcasting radio network or sponsor. All listeners are advised to make their own decisions.
It's the Malliard Report. Yeah, the Malliard Report. The paranormal talk radio show with Jim Malliard as your host. See what life beneath any paranormal activity. Go inside a world that others don't want to see. It's the Malliard Report. Yeah, the Malliard Report.
Good evening and welcome to the Malliard Report. I shouldn't say good evening because I know people listening to it in the morning. I've been trying to, that's a bad habit I have to break. Of course, I look out my window and it's completely dark. Tonight's sponsor is Spectrum Light, the best IR boosters available. It works wonderfully well with Sony Night Shot cameras. Visit SpectrumState.com or follow them on Twitter at AU Paranormal, or follow me on Twitter at iTalkParanormal, and you can click to them through there. My guest tonight is Dick-Larson. Dick, that was good. It's good talking to you. It wasn't good talking to you. I'm still talking to you.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
So, I was just asking you a little bit off air about the website thing, because I know that it concerned me that you personally have a website, but you managed to calm my fears about that. How did you do that?
Well, I said I'm not that important. I'm not that important to the person. The story is important, or I wouldn't be doing this, but I'm not.
Meanwhile, I must think I'm really important because I have a bunch of websites, so we got to work. We got to work on this.
Well, maybe you are.
I think I'm more important than I think I really am, but that's here or there. So give me the I don't want to say Twitter version of the story, but give me the broad overview of the story.
Sure. The story is that every 2,000 years, about every 2,000 years, we are sent a great teacher to help humanity with the next step forward, the next step in the evolution of the human race, which is an ongoing process on planet Earth. And it is time, it's been 2,000 years, the last teacher was Jesus. Actually, Buddha came at about that same time. Buddha taught the wisdom of God. Jesus taught the love of God. And it's time for another great teacher. He doesn't come as a religious teacher. He comes for everybody, religious or non-religious. And he doesn't come to start a religion. He comes to teach the will of God. And he says humanity is now ready to learn the will of God. And he's here now in a physical body waiting for the right time to come forward. And he's going to help us with basic necessities like education, health care, enough food for everybody, and so on. We need some encouragement and some help in getting the basic needs of humanity met around the world before we can go anywhere else, before we can progress further. So those will be his first priorities. So that's the story I tell. I tell the story of what he's all about, where he comes from, who he is, why he's here, and what it's going to be like when you see him on TV. Are you there?
Running this little strip up here and pushed the button, forgot to unpush it. So will we be able to identify this person, or will this person identify themselves to us?
Well, he's actually doing interviews on network TV now around the world as an ordinary person. We have free will. Humanity has free will. And so that is sacred. The masters, the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of souls, which is where he comes from, they consider humanity's free will to be sacred. So he's not going to tell us anything to do. He might make some suggestions. Well, I know he will make suggestions. But are you still there? I'm sorry, I hit a button.
Yep.
Okay, good. There are three ways that when he comes on TV, he's going to have a worldwide press conference because eventually, right now he's interviewing in Russia, on Russian network television. I haven't seen any of these interviews. But he's interviewed in Mexico, the U.S., China, Russia, and my information is that he's going to have a worldwide press conference because people and the media are finally going to be saying, wait, you know too much to be an ordinary person. Who are you really? Who are you really? And then he will be able to come forward on worldwide TV and radio, hooked up by satellite, which is why the satellites are up there. They're not up there for World Cup soccer. They're up there for this event. And he says it will be my day of declaration. It will be the day I declare who I am and why I'm here. And there are 3 ways that people will be able to recognize him when they see him during this press conference. He will be on TV, and the first way you'll know it's him is that you'll see his face on TV, but his lips won't move. We will all hear his words in our head telepathically in whatever our native language is. That's the first way you'll know it's him. The second way you'll know it's him is that while he's speaking, he embodies the love of God. That's how powerful a teacher, how great a teacher he is. And when he is speaking, we will feel the love of God in our hearts like we have never felt it before. A lot of people will be crying. I'll probably be one of them. Trust the love of God. The Antichrist can't do that if you're afraid of, there are people who are afraid of the Antichrist. And the third way you'll know it's him is that after he's done speaking for 30, 45 minutes, however long it is, there will be press reports from around the world that while he was speaking, hundreds of thousands of people were miraculously healed. And in those 3 ways, we'll know that this is the teacher sent for the age of Aquarius, sent for our time, and we can either follow his suggestions or not. We have free will. But that's how people will be able to recognize him. I'm glad you asked that question. Most people are afraid to ask that question.
Well, I'm not afraid of. Well, we were just talking about that. You mentioned the line on my website. I want to know. I mean, because I got this list of questions, and I didn't fully grip what you were trying to sell. No, I don't want to say sell me, because obviously you weren't selling me anything. I thought these questions were from a book. So when you hear the coming, so how long have you been? When did you start into this? I mean, I don't know how to pose this question.
Doing this about 20 years ago, Jim. Benjamin Creme, his name is spelled C-R-E-M-E. He is the main carrier of this message. The information is called the Ageless Wisdom. The Ageless Wisdom has been around since humanity has been around, and it's been mostly carried by word of mouth over the eons. And the last 2 great teachers of the Ageless Wisdom is a philosophy, not a religion. It is so old that its basic truths are said to underlie the world's major religions. The previous teacher of the Ageless Wisdom was a woman named Alice Bailey. She wrote about 20 books in the 1930s and 40s. The most recent teacher is still alive. He lives in London. His name is Benjamin Creme, C-R-E-M-E. He has about 14 books that are available on Amazon.com. I'm not here to sell books, but if people are interested and want to know more, that's one of the ways they can find out more, is just cruise Amazon and put in Benjamin Creme, C-R-E-M-E, and they will see his books. Well, he's been traveling around the world for about 35 years now, giving out this information, and other volunteers like myself have been doing it to help him with his work. And obviously, I think it makes sense, but it's very important for me to say the following, Jim, to your listeners, and that is, please don't believe anything I say. Please. That would be blind belief, and I can't recommend blind belief to anybody. So all I ask of your listeners is that they just run it through their life experience, run it through their common sense, and see if a little 10, 20, 30% of anything that I have to say tonight or today makes any sense to them. If it does, great. If it doesn't, I'm sorry I wasted your time. But obviously I don't think I'm wasting people's time or I wouldn't do this.
I agree. And I think that's true with any topic I cover on any show. Just filter it through and look it up for yourself, and if you don't agree, you don't agree, and if you do, you do. It's not my job. Yet,
don't make a decision right away. Just let it sit in your lap like a brick and kind of, let it, just ponder on it, that kind of thing. But Benjamin Creme is this major source of the information that I'll be giving you tonight, Jim.
Okay, so I'm backing up again. So you probably found probably one of these books, I'm assuming? And then
I did. Benjamin Creme came to town. I'm sorry. Yeah, Benjamin Creme used to come to the United States. He's in his 90s now, so his doctor has restricted his travel. But he used to come to New York and then he came to Los Angeles, and then San Francisco, and those were the 3 lectures that he would give in the United States. And so when he came to Los Angeles, which is where I am, I heard about him, and a friend of mine said, you should check him out, see if you find it interesting. I grew up a Christian, and so I kind of got away from the church as I got into life and so on. And but I've always been interested in the spiritual side of life. I've studied the world's religions a little bit, and so I went to hear Benjamin Creme at this lecture. Well, about 70% of it went right over my head, and about 30% of it got me really, really curious. So then I started reading his books. And I'll tell you, Jim, I found information in there that made total sense to me, and it answered questions that my religion couldn't answer.
Like what? Give me an example.
And it just made sense. So I said, I'm going to read some more of this, and I just decided to get involved as a volunteer.
So give me an example about how religion kind of left you lacking, because it does.
Well, I've never heard... I've gone to a lot of sermons in my life, a lot of church services in my life. I've heard them say, you need to forgive, you need to forgive, you need to forgive, but I've never heard anybody say how to forgive. You know, I've heard prayer and meditation, but I've never heard anybody talk about both of them and why they're mentioned together at the same time, and how they fit together in a person's spiritual program in their life. I've heard a lot of talk about the soul, but nobody can tell me exactly what it is or what its purpose is or what it's all about. And Benjamin Creme simply said the nature of the soul is to serve. When people start to get in touch with their soul, they start to look for ways to serve others and to serve God by serving others, you know? I mean, things like that. The prayer is sending spiritual energy to the spiritual universe. Meditation is opening yourself up to receive spiritual energy from the spiritual universe. And together they complete the cycle of communication with the spiritual universe. So they go together, prayer and meditation. Now, meditation isn't for everybody, but you won't know unless you try it. You know, I do a simple little 15-minute plain vanilla meditation every morning. I say my little prayers, and then I do my little meditation every morning before I, go to work. And so that's part of my spiritual program now. But it was just explained in such simple terms, and it just made sense. It just resonated with me. You know, there are things you can't prove, like talking about spirituality. It's very hard to prove things about spirituality. It's the kind of thing that you just know because you know. You can't hold it up and show it to anybody, but you just know. It rings true for you in your heart of hearts. And so that's the nature of spirituality and what makes it so difficult to talk about sometimes.
Yeah, it can be. It definitely is difficult at times. And the other thing is how to explain somebody what you believe, because there is, well, you have a I don't want to say doctrine because that's not necessarily true either, but there's years
I go by the English wisdom, teachings.
Right.
But that's pretty much that, and I've still hanged some of my Christian, beliefs as well. So I would call myself a very liberal Christian, is what I call myself. But I don't see anything wrong with Buddhism or Shinto or Krishna's teachings. They're all different aspects of the same God. I think it's the same God, different names.
That's an interesting point, because it does seem like the same. I hate to say this and sound like a jerk, but they're very similar, just how they present the message.
Are they ever?
Yeah.
Yeah, they are. I mean, I've taught, Bible study, and I've taught the different world religions, and what some of the differences are, and it's harder to find differences than it is similarities. Yet,
you put two different church members walking down a street, and they'll cross the street so they don't have to talk to each other.
That's one of the problems with religion. We are just moving out of the Piscean age and into the Aquarian age, and that means the energies that are being absorbed by planet Earth, just being pounded into the planet, are different now. And the old Piscean energies, when we come into alignment, our planet and our solar system periodically come into alignment with one of the 12 great constellations around our solar system. We call them the zodiac. And when we're in alignment with one of those constellations, which lasts about 2,150 years, 2,200 years, depending, they're not evenly spaced. When we're in alignment with one of those, we say we are in the age of whatever that constellation is. Well, for the last 2,000 years, we've been in alignment with and in the age of Pisces. The astronomers call it the precession of the equinox, but we call it ages, you know. And so two of the primary energies that we receive from this huge constellation, powerful energies of Pisces, are separation, individuality. Man has come out of the herd over the last 2,000 years, and dedication to an ideal. And it was dedication to an ideal that saved the world in World War II. The ideal of freedom and justice saved the world from Hitler and his buddies in Italy and Japan. And so those have served a purpose. We have now developed into individuals, and we're not afraid to speak our mind, most of us, and stand up for ourselves. Well, now we're moving out of the influence of Pisces and into the influence of Aquarius, which is very different energies. In 1625, we started moving out of the influence of Pisces, and the Piscean energies started to be withdrawn. In 1675, we entered into alignment with some of the energies of Aquarius. And the energies of Aquarius are synthesis and cooperation. So now the next step for humanity is to take those individuals and have them work together cooperatively. I mean, it just makes sense, doesn't it? That's the next step, cooperation. So you're going to see lots of work done in groups now. Groups will become very powerful. It's the only way things will get done. The energies will not support individuals anymore. Benjamin Krem's master, he's in touch with one of the spiritual masters, and that's where his information comes from. That's why it's considered so reliable by so many people. And Benjamin Krem's master has said that even the President of the United States is no longer going to be one individual. It's going to be a panel of wise people. He's even gone so far as to say that if Jimmy Carter is still alive when that happens, he will be on that panel. So it's going to be group work. Everything's going to be done by groups, and we're going to learn to work together. We're going from a system of competition to a system of cooperation. It's going to be completely different. So everything is changing. Well, part of that individuality that we got from Pisces created all this separation that you mentioned about the religions. It's just the Christian religion alone has something like 250 different religions: Presbyterian, Methodist, Baptist, Lutheran, and so on and on and on. And so it's caused this tremendous separation where you're right. We cross the street to avoid certain people, and that needs to go now. Now we need to learn how to live together and work together. And so we're going from a you or me world. The rules have changed. In order to be successful in the world now, it has to be a you and me world. So instead of having to get my own, because there's not enough to go around, what we're doing is we're going into a world where there's plenty. We see the world as complete. There's plenty to go around. There's plenty for you and me. And the only way I can succeed now with the new rules is if I help you succeed. That's what we're coming into. And this separation is going to start disappearing. Isn't that interesting?
That's fascinating. That sounds so much. Not that I'm not a fan of competition, but there are times, especially amongst things that doesn't need competition. It just frustrates me to no end. Yeah, absolutely. Now, teamwork will be very important. So team sports, for example, will continue because it's about learning how to work together to achieve a goal. Right? So that the team part of it is going to be emphasized. Look at what the people did by marching in the streets, across the Atlantic Ocean. They threw out their government just by marching in the streets for 3 days. That's the power of Aquarius. It's group. Everything is going to be accomplished through group work. What does that mean to you and I? It means that the everyday man on the street will become very powerful. If our leaders don't do what we want them to do, we will throw them out. Consequently, they will start doing what we want them to do. Everything's going to change, Jim. It's going to be so wonderful. I can't even begin to tell you. And a lot of this is going to happen in our lifetime. I want to jump backwards.
Sure. Sure, go ahead.
You threw me, and I wrote it down, thank goodness, because I've been listening and I've been scribbling, and it's just been kind of a mess over here. But you mentioned the panel as the president. Now, this sounds fascinating to me, but then I won't have all these. I can't blame one guy then.
That's right. That's right. Instead of looking to blame people, we'll start asking, how can I help?
That's okay. Yeah, that'd be great.
You know. Yeah.
Because there's so much divide over so much silly things. It's just, Right.
There will be a lot more cooperation involved in the running of the United States, and of all other countries for that matter, but we're talking about the United States right now. But there will be a lot more cooperation and teamwork involved. It won't be one person in a position of power, So will it be hard to identify who to blame or who to hold responsible, let's say, for certain things? That'll still be possible because they're going to have to tell the truth about their position, or at least we hope they will. I get the feeling that if they don't, they'll be kicked out. So I don't think lying is going to work much anymore.
We can only hope.
Like it does in government right now. Because the people on that panel will know when one of them is lying. Most of the time they'll know. And so it's not going to work. It'll be very easy to identify that person. So I don't think that's going to be an issue, Jim. We won't know until we do it, but I think we're going to find a way to make it work.
So you say within our lifetimes. So you're saying this within the next 50 years or so, huh?
Well, I think Benjamin Krem has said that he thinks that the world teacher Maitreya, that's the name of this teacher, Maitreya. It's his personal name. Like my name is Dick, his name is Maitreya. Maitreya means the happy one, the one who brings joy. And his personal name is Maitreya. He prefers to just be called the teacher or the world teacher because that's really what he is. He comes as a teacher to give us suggestions and to guide us. And then we'll either follow his suggestions or not. But he comes to guide us and to teach us. He's not going to tell us what to do. And I forgot what I was going to say.
Well, we were talking about the time frame of...
Oh, yeah. Benjamin Krem says he thinks it'll be between 1.5 years and 2 years that he will come forward. I think it'll be within the next year.
Well, so
he will actually have his day of declaration. He's already come forward. He's already doing these individual interviews. He's going to be he's actually been interviewed already by the BBC. It's in the can. They've just been asked not to show it yet. But then he'll be interviewed on Japanese network or two. And this, when it happens, it's going to happen very fast. All of a sudden, people are going to be saying, okay, who are you really? Who are you really? People are starting to expect this teacher to come forward. The word is getting out around the world. People know the name Maitreya now. A lot of people think he's the Antichrist. He's not. I'd be happy to talk about the Antichrist if you want to do that at some point.
Well, we'll get there. Yeah. That's a hot button issue for people, I'm sure. Yeah,
and I can't wait. But anyway, so I think he's going to come forward in the next year. I think by next Christmas. Not this Christmas, next Christmas. That's just my intuition. That's not official at all. See, his timing depends on humanity. What's going to happen is pretty much certain. But humanity, through our free will, can change when things happen.
Right.
Yeah. So the timing is up in the air. I mean, I don't even think Maitreya knows right now exactly when. I think he has target dates because he's trying to line up the energies of the universe that pour into our solar system, pour into our planet, and that are already here on our planet. He's trying to line things up so that it will be the best possible opportunity for people to accept him when he comes forward. So that's what he's looking for. He's looking for the perfect window of opportunity. There won't be a perfect one, but there'll be a best one. And I think that'll be within the next year, no later than next Christmas, myself. And it'll be called the Day of Declaration. There will never have been a day like it in the history of humanity on planet Earth, ever, ever. He's going to give us a glimpse of the past and show us where we've lost our way, because we have. And then he's going to give us a glimpse of this brilliant, brilliant future that humanity has ahead of us to inspire us. And then he will make some suggestions on how we can get there, how we can start that process, how we can turn things around. Right now we're not able to end war, we're not able to end starvation, we're not able to stop polluting the planet. These are major problems, and so we're going to need some help.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
and help is on the way.
If we want to make it through that next 2,000-year cycle, I think I wholeheartedly agree. We're going to have to change a lot of things we're doing.
And he doesn't come alone, Jim. He comes with other masters. Right now there are 13 masters. These masters, let me just say just a second about them, if I could, please.
Yeah, go on. Run out.
Because people go, what's a master? What's a master? Well, they're not called masters because they're in control of us. They're called masters because they're in control of themselves. They're masters of themselves. And these are perfected men and women. They're men and women who have gone through human evolution ahead of us and become perfected men and women and have joined the kingdom of souls. There's a lot of names for it. It's called the spiritual hierarchy. Hierarchy because there are different levels of evolution in the spiritual world, too. Spiritual hierarchy, the kingdom of souls, they're called the lords of compassion. It's the next kingdom above the human kingdom. It includes great people like Confucius, Krishna, Buddha, Muhammad, Jesus, Mary, the mother of Jesus, Joan of Arc, St. John, Paul, Ringo. No, not Ringo. Just kidding. Those people like that, great people like that, they make up the 63 souls that are the spiritual hierarchy, the lords of compassion. And those 63 great spiritual beings have hung around planet Earth. There are other places to go in advancement in the spiritual kingdom. They've hung around planet Earth, and they're the inspiration behind the great steps forward that humanity has made, the wonderful people that have helped humanity, the Beethovens and the Bachs and the Renoirs and so on. These wonderful, wonderful people that have helped humanity evolve and move forward have been inspired by these great masters of the hierarchy, the kingdom of souls. There are 63 of them. Well, there's 13 on the planet right now in physical bodies on the planet. There's one in Moscow. There's one in Darjeeling, India. There's one in Geneva. There's one in Rome. There's one in London. The one in London is Maitreya. There's one in New York. There's one in the San Bernardino Mountains out west here. There's one in Tokyo. There are 13 right now already here. Before this age, the 2,000 years of the age of Aquarius, he will be with us that entire time, the 2,000 years. Before that is over, there will be more than 40 masters walking among us on the planet, teaching us, advising us, helping us. These masters have different areas of specialty. There'll be a master who will work with us on healthcare, a master that will work with us on education, a master that will work with us on housing, on music and the arts. All different areas will be getting help from these masters. So it's a wonderful time. One of God's great laws, besides the law of karma, which is cause and effect, the scientists call it the law of action and reaction. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. That's karma. Besides that, there's the great law of, oh man, I just forgot the name, but it means balance. And what it means is that however bad it's been in the past, that's how good it's going to be in the future. It's got to be. And so that's a law. That's one of God's laws according to the Ageless Wisdom teachings. That's one of God's laws. And so we've got a brilliant future ahead of us. And we will start to see some of that pretty quickly. I'm told that the plans are already made behind the scenes to end starvation, to get the food distributed. That's the problem. The food's not getting distributed. There's more than a 12% per capita surplus of food on this planet, but it's not getting to everybody that needs it. And the plans are already, I'm told, made and ready to go when humanity is open to following those plans, which will be after the masters come forward. After Maitreya will be the first one to come forward, then probably Jesus will be the next one, and you'll see them standing side by side on TV, the Master Jesus and Lord Maitreya, and Jesus will be saying, this is my great buddy Maitreya, and Maitreya will be saying, this is my great buddy Jesus. They work together all the time. They're best friends. You'll be seeing both of them on TV, and they will be helping us in all these areas. It's a great time to be alive. I'll tell you, we're going to see changes nobody else has seen on this planet. I'm told that starvation will end within 2 years. That fast. It's been with us forever.
I mean, you're right. I mean, the food's there. It just needs distributed. So it's not like that's a big, bold step, but it is a big, bold step. I mean,
yes, it is. Yes, it is, because we haven't come up with a plan that'll work yet. But it will. and it's going to happen quickly. That will happen quickly. Some of the other things will be slower to change. The churches, the real conservative people in the churches will be slower to change. The financial people will be slower in the banks and so on. The financial world, they'll probably be the real conservative ones, very slow to change. But
well, of course,
other
they've got
areas
everything to
will
lose.
change. I'm sorry?
The financial people have stuff to lose. I mean,
a lot to lose.
Yeah.
A lot to lose because the gap between the haves and the have-nots is going to shrink and shrink and shrink and shrink and shrink until we pretty much have a level playing field. How's that going to happen? The stock market is going to collapse. That's how that's going to happen. And God's not going to make it collapse, and the masters aren't going to make it collapse. Our actions will make it collapse. It's already collapsed in Japan. There's already been, 10 years ago, people jumping out of tall buildings and, killing themselves and stuff over there. But it hasn't hit the United States hard. We had that recession, but it's going to get worse. And the masters are trying to make it so that it will happen with the least possible harm. But it's going to happen. Because right now, money is God.
Yes.
Just try getting justice without any money. Good luck. Money is God, and when money starts to disappear, leaders around the world, people around the world are going to start saying, what do we do now? Now what do we do? That would be a great time for a teacher to step forward and say, I have some ideas. And I think that's kind of how it's going to come down. I think the stock market is going to, I don't know. But my guess is a lot of the experts, the financial experts, are saying middle or fall of 2015 is when it's going to happen, when the bottom's going to fall out.
Yeah, before I wanted to tell you this the last time I was talking to you. You're going to have to come back next fall, spring, whenever.
Oh, I'd love to.
Late summer, fall, and bring me up to date again where we're at with all of this.
Sure.
I wanted to say that earlier, and I crossed it off already like I did, and I knew I didn't.
Oh, I'd love to. Put me on your calendar.
We'll get that squared away.
Yep.
You mentioned the Antichrist, but my first thought when you started talking about this is that New World Order theory that people have, that one person takes over the world.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Well, you wanted to discuss the Antichrist part of this, so go ahead with that, but I just wanted to throw the other. That way I can put the keywords in there for the listeners.
Sure. Yeah. My information is that that's not going to happen. One person won't have enough power to do that anymore because of the Aquarian energy. Only groups will make the major decisions, and major changes will happen because of group energy being behind it. There will be no energy behind individuals. That's, if I may, just before I talk about the Antichrist, that's what's happening with everything that's not working now. The educational system doesn't work, and we can't fix it no matter what we do. The healthcare system doesn't work, and we can't fix it no matter what we do. The financial system is bouncing all over the place. All of this stuff doesn't work anymore because it was built with Piscean energy. And Piscean energy is being withdrawn. So all it can do is collapse. That's all it can do until we rebuild it with the energies of Aquarius, of cooperation and synthesis, working together under completely new rules, the rules of cooperation, the rules of me and you. When we rebuild these institutions with Aquarian energy, then they will serve humanity again. They've served humanity well for 2,000 years, but not anymore, because there's no energy left to support them now, and they're collapsing. And that's all they can do, is collapse until we rebuild them. Now, the Antichrist. The Antichrist, according to the ageless wisdom, and this made all sense in the world to me, so I hope your guests, your listeners find something in here that sounds like it might make sense. The ageless wisdom says the Antichrist isn't actually a person. It's an energy. It's an energy that's periodically released through one or more people to break down the old order and pave the way for the new. Now, I used to teach adult Bible study. Probably the most difficult book of the Bible to understand is the St. John's book of Revelation. But Revelation, as I understand it, is basically broken down into three parts. He's talking about three different events. And I'll tell you because they each have to do with catastrophe and with the Antichrist. The first event was the Antichrist was released through Nero back in the days of Rome. Nero, if you look in St. John's book of Revelation, you'll see, especially in a good study Bible, there'll be a footnote where he says the beast 666. The footnote will say something like this, Jim. 600, every letter back in those days stood for a number. Numerology was very big. And the footnote will say 666 is the total numbers in the name Caesar Nero. Nero was the beast 666. The Antichrist energy was released through him to break down the Roman Empire, this huge, huge empire that almost conquered the world. You know that old saying, Nero fiddled while Rome burned? It's true. Nero almost single-handedly destroyed the Roman Empire. He persecuted the Christians, something fierce. By destroying the Roman Empire, he paved the way for Christianity. That was the first release of the Antichrist that we know about. The next release of the Antichrist happened in our time, in our Piscean age, and when people think about it, they know who it was. It was Hitler. It was released through Hitler, a couple generals around him, through Mussolini, and through a couple Japanese generals. Hitler, if you'll think about it, he did everything that St. John's Book of Revelation said the Antichrist will do. He was incredibly evil. He killed millions and millions of people. He fooled millions of people for over 30 years into thinking that he was going to lead them into this great, perfect civilization, this perfect society, and was incredibly evil, and he was defeated by the Allied powers. The Axis powers were defeated. So the Antichrist for our time has come and gone. It was supposed to break down the war society and pave the way for Maitreya, the world teacher, to come. But the masters didn't anticipate that we would create the Cold War. And we did. After World War II, we created this Cold War, and that delayed things for decades, which is now finally going to happen, because the Cold War is finally over. The masters, Maitreya, ended the Cold War by working through Gorbachev, who's a very spiritually advanced person. Maitreya worked through Gorbachev to create glasnost and break down the Soviet Union, and who said, come on, let's come over, I'll come over and talk to you, President Reagan, and we'll settle this whole thing. And the Cold War ended, thanks to Gorbachev. That was the Antichrist for our time. So the good news from the Ageless Wisdom is that our Antichrist has come and gone and paved the way for Maitreya to come forward, which he's doing now. The next release of the Antichrist energy will be in about 3,000 years, I'm told, and that battle will be fought on the mental levels, not on the physical level like World War I and World War II, on the mental levels, and then that will be the last time. The Antichrist will be put down once and for all, and it won't be needed any time after that, so that'll be the end of the release of the Antichrist energy. It will have served its purpose for planet Earth. And that's my understanding of the Antichrist according to the Ageless Wisdom. I think it makes sense.
Well, it does, at least through the current events. I mean, I can't really speak of the few. I haven't wrapped my head around what you were just talking about in 3,000 years, but
yeah, I know.
But going backwards, I had thought about how straight up. Well, the Roman thing I thought about before because and then
Nero was the beast 666. People are looking for the beast. The beast was Nero. That was the first cataclysm that he wrote about. The second one was World War I and World War II. That he wrote about. The third one is way off in the future. Just like the end of the world. The end of the world is just because Jesus is coming back doesn't mean it's going to be the end of the world. Jesus said, I'll return at the end of the age, not the end of the world. Well, it's the end of the age of Pisces, and he's coming back. He was the teacher for the age of Pisces. Jesus was. And released the great teaching of God's love. And now Jesus is back. He's the master that's living on the outskirts of Rome. A couple of the cardinals in the Pope's close group know that he is here. They've been asked not to say anything because then every Catholic in the world will believe that Jesus is here just because the Pope said so.
Right.
So they're not saying anything. It would infringe humanity's free will. But Jesus' job, my understanding of Jesus' job, is to get the Christian churches united and back on track.
That may be more tougher. That may be more tough than putting together a government that functions well.
I know, huh? I feel kind of sorry for him, but obviously he's got a plan and he's totally up to it. I mean, people are gonna be able to see Jesus on TV. They're going to be able to ask him questions. What did you mean when you said? And he's going to be able to answer it. I mean, this is going to be such a wonderful time, Jim. I mean, it's just some people are going to resist it. That's for sure. But Maitreya said a long time ago. Maitreya said. There was a time when 10 true people could save the world, then a time when 10,000 could not. I will call upon 1 billion. And Benjamin Crumb asked his master, he said, does Maitreya have his billion yet? And Benjamin Crumb's master said, there are 1.8 billion people who will respond when Maitreya comes forward. And that's all we need. That's a critical mass. A billion is a critical mass, and there'll be 1.8 billion. So things are going to happen. It's going to be wonderful. It's going to be a great time.
It just sounds like it. So, yeah, you need to get me some swing so I can get these people on my show.
Pardon me?
You need to get me some pull or some swing so I can have them on my show. I think it'd be fun.
I don't have any pull. But they will choose wisely because they will know who's open to the information and who isn't. Like they know that you're open to this. Not that you're a believer. They don't want believers. They don't want. He said, if you believe me, if you follow me, you're making a mistake. You're going to lose me. All I want you to do is listen to my teachings and see if they make any sense. And if they do, put them to work in your life. That's all I want. I don't want belief. I don't want any of that stuff. I just want you to change your life so it gets better. I want you to be happy. One of the things Maitreya said is he comes to remove guilt. He says guilt serves no purpose for humanity. There's no purpose in guilt. All it does is hurt people. Stop feeling guilty all the time.
That's true. I mean,
isn't that great?
That's true. I mean, it's true with somebody, you saying it or somebody else saying it. It's just stresses people out for no apparent reason. There's nothing you can do about what you reflect on.
So they know who's open to this information, and they know who will reach a lot of people, and they know who will be helpful, and so they'll choose wisely. I wouldn't doubt it at all if you're on the list. You know, I mean, the people that I've been talking to that have been open about this and not, some have been in my face, but some just because that's the role they're playing. They're playing devil's advocate, you know, which is kind of fun too. But they know who's shut down about this and who's open about this, and they're going to use those people if they think it will help humanity. I mean, what a wonderful service to provide for humanity, to interview a master on the radio. God, that'd be great, wouldn't it?
It'd be fun. I mean, it's fun talking to you.
Yeah. Well, no, it wouldn't. It wouldn't be like talking to me at all.
Well, no, it's fun. It's fun talking to you, though. That's what I'm saying.
But I'll tell you, they have a great sense of humor. Now, a lot of your listeners have probably seen a master. If they're listening to this broadcast, I would suggest to you that it's their soul that's keeping them tuned in. And if that's true, I suspect they've seen a master and just didn't know it. The masters have been appearing to people all the time. They appear to mostly Jesus and Maitreya, Mary a little bit, and the master in Tokyo a little bit, but mostly Jesus and Maitreya. They've been appearing to people as an ordinary person, a lot of times as a homeless person, or a man or a woman, a young man, an older woman, an older man, and they appear to people, and there's usually three ways that people can tell they've seen a master. A lot of times they don't even talk to them, they just know by looking at them. One of the ways is that they see something in the eyes that's really special, that they've never seen before, and it gets their attention. Another way is that their heart just kind of jumps for joy. They feel just so happy all of a sudden, and they can't explain it. But they know they do, just by seeing this person or being around them. They just feel so happy. That's the second way. And the third way is that people feel pressure or a feeling around their head like they're wearing a sweatband. That energy around your head, like when you meditate, that kind of energy, they'll feel that kind of energy. Or they'll say something special. I'll tell you an example. I was doing a booth at a big conference. It was Share International had a booth there, and we were giving out free information. And this young black man came up to the booth. He was he looked to be about 30 years old. And he came up to the booth, and he started talking about the pollution and everything, and he said it's basically over unless we change it right now. I mean, we have to take action right now, or it's all over. And I thought, oh great, I got one of those crises people on my hands, you know. And I said, but we can change it. You and I can change it. And he said, I can't. I'm just the observer. Boy, that set off a bell in my head. They'll say something like that, you know. I can't change it. I'm the observer. Well, I talked to him a little bit longer, and then he left, walked away. I watched him walk away, and I couldn't get him out of my mind. That's the other way you'll know. It's an ordinary occurrence, but you can't get the person out of your mind. You keep thinking of them, and there's no reason to think of them, but they keep popping into your mind. Well, that's what happened with him. So I finally wrote to Benjamin Creme. Benjamin Creme asked his master. His master said that was Maitreya. When he said, I'm the observer, that gave me a tip right there. He said, I can't change it because all the changes that are going to happen have to be done by humanity. We created this mess, so karmically, we have to be the ones to clean it up, not the masters. They can give us suggestions, but they can't do it for us. Nobody's going to wave a magic wand and make everything okay. That's not how it works. How it works is we made the mess, we have to clean it up, you know. So he can't clean it up, but he said that. He said, I can't do it. I'm the observer. So they'll say little things like that that'll give you a tip. So if some of your listeners are thinking of somebody they saw, I'll tell you another example. I was driving home from meditation one night. I do a meditation called Transmission Meditation. It's a new group meditation introduced to the world by Benjamin Creme. He's been teaching it around the world for 35 years. It's free. It's done in somebody's home. 3 people make a group, 3 or more. And I was driving home from meditation one night. We meditated for about an hour and a half. And I was driving home, and I stopped at a red light, and I looked over at the bus bench in the corner, and there was a homeless guy sitting there, long gray beard, dirty, filthy gray trench coat, and he was kind of slouched down, looking up at me through the top of his eyes. And my very first thought, Jim, was that guy is looking right through me. Now, I can't tell you why I thought that, but that was my very first thought. And then the light turned green, and I drove on. Well, I couldn't get him out of my mind. I couldn't get him out of my mind. I finally asked Benjamin Creme. People can write to Benjamin Creme if they think they've seen a master, and if he gets it confirmed, he will print their letter in Share magazine. There's a magazine called Share magazine that he is the chief editor of. It's published in, I think, 32 countries. Anyway, it's a monthly magazine. And he said that the guy on the bench was Jesus, the Master Jesus. So your people have probably seen a master and didn't realize it until now when I start telling them how to recognize it. But they're out there all the time, and they usually appear to teach a lesson. Like that lesson was, here's a homeless guy that looks terrible, right? He's spirit. He's a spirit. He's a living soul. No matter what we look like, we're a living soul. You know, that would be the lesson there, I would think. That's the lesson I got from it. Anyway, no matter what we look like, no matter how old or young we are, we're a living soul. We deserve to be treated that way, you know?
Doesn't matter. Yeah, that's just so true. That everybody is equal.
So you've probably seen a master, Jim. Probably 2 or 3.
I wouldn't doubt it. Cause you're just. I was thinking about some of the people that I've had experiences with that are strange.
I was leaving school one night to go to meditation, and I was walking across the campus, college I was going to, grad school, and these 2 students were walking towards me. I didn't look up until the very last second, and right behind them was a young woman, probably about 20 years old, brown shoulder-length brown hair, not particularly pretty, but just nice, Mona Lisa kind of look. And she just kind of smiled at me. I saw her for about 2 seconds, and they went by. And, my heart just leaped for joy. I was just so happy all of a sudden. It felt like my feet were barely touching the ground. And I was thinking to myself, boy, I wish I could make people that happy by giving them a smile, too. And as usual, I couldn't get her out of my mind, I wrote to Benjamin Creme. She was Maitreya. So just that little look, 2 seconds. But, whoo, my heart just leapt for joy. It can happen that fast. But they're out there. They're out there letting us know that they're here and they care. And they have a great sense of humor. Some of the letters that I've written in are so funny. I mean, they just have a loving, lovable, pure joy sense of humor. So they would be fun in an interview. I'm telling you, they'd be a riot. It'd be very fun. They wouldn't be all grim, and we always picture God on this gold chair with a beard and an old man, with a white beard and mustache, kind of somber. That's not what they're like at all. They're just pure love, and all they do is love us. They never criticize us. They never get angry at us. They just love us. You know why? Because they were us. They went through evolution just like we are, and they know what it's like. They've had every problem we've had. They've had. They know what it's like. They understand completely what it's like to be you and me. So they never criticize. They just encourage and teach and love. Isn't that wonderful?
It sounds so beneficial for humanity.
Oh, it is. People are going to be blown away by how simple they are, too. They talk just like you and I. No fancy words, none of that stuff. They just talk just like you and I. People are going to be blown away by how simply they talk. But every sentence says a lot.
Okay, so we're in that final 5 minutes here. Good grief. Where did the hour go? That happens all the time. That's why I have the tagline, the fastest hour in paranormal talk radio, because it always goes fast. But anyways, I get back to my point. Give people the website again and anything else you want them, the last words that you want them to hear tonight. If they take away anything, what should they take away, I guess?
Sure, great. Well, let me give the website first. People can go to the website. It is deep. It's loaded with videos, photos, all kinds of wonderful stuff in print, interviews with Benjamin Crumb, all kinds of good stuff. Here's the website, www.share, S-H-A-R-E, international, all spelled out, .org. Don't go to .com. You'll get something completely different. www.share-international.org is the website. Benjamin Creme, C-R-E-M-E, if you want to review or look at any of his books on Amazon and check them out. He's written on about everything under the sun there, so there's lots of variety to look at. And if any of this has made sense to any of your listeners and they wonder what they can do, I'll be happy to give them some suggestions. I think two of our purposes on the planet are to learn and grow. In other words, be teachable, be open to new ideas, and so people can be doing that in their life. Another purpose is to serve. We serve God by serving humanity, by serving others. There's a million ways to serve. People say, well, what's the best way? There isn't one. Pick one that's in your line of interest. Maybe it's donating money to your 4 favorite charities every month. I don't know what it is. Money is a great spiritual tool if it's used correctly. But to serve. Maybe it's just serving your family. I don't know. People can learn meditation if they haven't tried it yet. But be part of the people power. March in the streets for the stuff you know is right. Go to YouTube. Talk about this on Facebook. If any of this has made sense, tell somebody about it. Tell somebody about the teacher. Well, there might be a teacher coming, I'm not sure, but this guy, wouldn't it be great? Share what I've said to whatever extent it makes sense to you. Share it with somebody. You can put it on Twitter. You can put it on Facebook. This is an unbelievable time to be alive. We are here to change the world. That's why we're here. My parents and our grandparents were here to defeat the Antichrist. They got the job done. They did it. We're here to start the change from Pisces to Aquarius, from competition to cooperation to sharing. So we can be at the back of the parade or we can be in the front of the parade. And I think your listeners are going to be in the front of the parade. That's why we're on the planet, to help these changes occur, to learn from the masters. It's an unbelievable privilege to be alive right now. And thank you so much for having me on your show, Jim.
Well, Dick, we'll have to do it again because I know over the course of the next, I do my post-show stuff, so I'll go to bed here in a couple hours, and I'm sure I'll be still scribbling stuff down that I should have asked you or wanted to ask you. So we'll do it again.
I'd love to. I just love interviewing with you. You're a wonderful host. Thank you for being so gracious.
Well, thank you for coming on. Like I said, I was kind of nervous when we got when I started into this tonight because I didn't like. I don't like asking canned questions, I guess, and then I found that I could ask.
I'm glad you don't.
And I'm glad that I went and I was going to go for it, and if you hung up on me, you hung up on me, but we had a great conversation.
I wouldn't do that. Yeah, no, I like your style, Jim, and I kind of talked a little bit too much probably, so if I did, I apologize.
No, you were great because I want you to talk because I was absorbing it and trying to. So you were fine. So all right.
Okay.
Well,
I wish you and your listeners the very best.
All right, Dick. I'm going to rush you off because I've got to rush off to do some other things. But thanks, Dick.
My pleasure. Bye-bye.
And that's Dick-Larson. And like I just told him, I thought he was going to hang up on me because I thought we were going to have some go to blows about some things. But he came through and we got through it. And I'm simply amazed, and I have a lot more questions, and that I want more detail, but we'll get there together. Tonight's report is brought to you by Spectrum Light. the best IR boosters available. Works wonderfully well with Sony night shot cameras. Visit SpectrumState.com or follow them on Twitter at AU Paranormal. Or follow me on Twitter at iTalkParanormal. Or sign up for my newsletter. I haven't talked about that in a couple months, and it's kind of dropped. People haven't really signed up. But now it's more focused. It's really content-driven. You get your newsletter. You get a video preview. Yes, you get to see me on video again. It's been a few years since I've done videos, but they're back, and they're worse than ever. But if you want to know who the guest is and you kind of want to get a feel for the guest, I'm just laying it out there. I'm just giving you 3 to 4 minutes every week of what I think of the guest coming up and some insider take. I used to do an insider blog, but yeah, I didn't like typing it. So now I'm just doing the little videos, and all the response I've got about it from the current newsletter subscribers are loving it. So I'm loving doing it, and I'm happy they're loving me doing it. So the giveaway, I mentioned this in my preview video today. If you aren't subscribed to the newsletter, of course you didn't see this. I gave Joanne H. Buchanan was on last week, and we gave away 2 or 3 books of hers, and I gave away 19 of my giveaway items, so that's pretty cool. I know they're going out tomorrow. I lied. I said they were going out today, and I didn't make it to the post office. They are all stamped and all ready to go, but I didn't make it to town today. So what a shock that was. I normally make it to town twice a day. Today I didn't go at all. So I want to thank everybody for their kind words over the last few days. The reviews for the show. They're sending them to me in private, but you should be posting them on iTunes and Stitcher and anywhere you're listening to the show. Those reviews help immensely. And finally, before I sign off for tonight, please share the report with your friends or anybody that may be interested. If it isn't this show, go back and get a show that you know they'll like and share it with them. With that being said, that's tonight's Malliard Report, and keep quacking.
Well, before we flip that on-air sign to the off position, a quick reminder. For all things about the report, previews, and reviews, go to italkparanormal.com. That's italkparanormal.com. Good night.
It's the Paranormal Show. The fastest hour in paranormal talk radio. The Paranormal Show. The fastest hour in paranormal talk radio. Brought to you by the Malliard Report. Visit TMR247.com to hear more.
Get connected with Take Two Radio on Facebook or Twitter at Take Two Radio. For email updates on future shows, follow at Blog Talk Radio. For previous episodes, upcoming guests, and more, visit Take2Radio.com.